Hello, I'm Dr. Josh Hant, and you're listening to Lifestyle Locker Radio. This is episode 142, and it's also called The Race to 100. And in this episode, we're going to talk about daily and weekly training. I'm also going to share some inspirational quotes, which we're going to start off with one in a minute. And next, I'm going to share, since this is my 40th year on this planet, I'm going to share some of the places I've been, some of the things I've done, some of the things I'm shooting for, and in how I can hopefully inspire you to be a better version of yourself. So first and foremost, let's start off with a great quote. And this is from an author I've read many books from, who I absolutely love. His name is Brian Tracy. So here's the quote. There are no limits to what you can accomplish except the limits you place on your own thinking. And we all know when setting out big goals, what are the biggest things that lead us towards failure in accomplishing those goals? As our own thought patterns, right? If we're constantly bad thinking, putting negative thoughts into our mind and our body, we respond to it. So that being said, let's talk about how we can be inspired to open up the walls of our mind, to actually grow, to actually become better at being who we're really designed to be. And sometimes I think it takes some serious work to figure out who that is. I think some people may have it easier than others, but I think for the majority, we actually have to put some work in to create our best authentic self. So let's look at this week in training. I'm going to share, this week was an odd week for me, and I want to share this. So my first training day was Tuesday. Monday's always an off day for training. What did we do here? Monday. We did 10.05 miles with a 10-13 mile pace. That was a good run, a little on the slow pace for me, but I'm working on keeping consistency, because what I want to be able to do is be able to keep well under a 15-minute mile for 100 miles. And I know that sounds like, that doesn't seem so bad, but a 15-minute mile is a pretty fast walking pace. So just go ahead, and if you want to give this a shot in your training, sometimes you may need, if you're a fast runner, this is not for you, because it's going to tell you to run slow. Try to run a 10-minute mile pace for 3 hours. Try to run, a 15-minute mile pace for half a day, right? These things are hard. Time at a consistent cadence and pace is difficult and challenging. I know those of you that are runners know what I'm talking about. And for those of you that aren't, I highly recommend, if you're just starting, start little bits and start in a little way, but increase your time and then increase some intensity. Because if you want to be able to run your first 5K or run your first marathon, it's something that can be done pretty easily when you do things consistently, right? Those are very important things. And consistently just doesn't mean your activities. It's everything from your mindset to your food to your recovery and sleep. All of these things really help. So 10.05 was the first day, an hour and 42 minutes of movement. August 1st. That was Thursday. So Wednesday, all day work day. Thursday, run day. Birthday, 40th birthday. I work all morning real early. I ran about a 5K, 3.22 miles at a 9:17 pace to the gym to train hard. And this is late afternoon, and my wife was taking me out to dinner, which after I showed up at dinner with her, it ended up being a surprise. My sister she was with us, and some friends and more family showed up. It was great. Food is phenomenal, but nonetheless. So I only ran 1.67 miles back because I needed to get back and shower and get ready to go out for dinner. I'm not allowed to miss my birthday dinner, right? So it was a short day. So we say 3, 4, maybe close to 5 miles, not totally. So it was a slow birthday day, but we did do some great training that day. In the gym, I did, what did I do that day? Pull-ups, push-ups, curls to presses, and I did multiple rounds of that. I think I did 3 or 4 exercises. I haven't marked, but I forgot what it was. So nonetheless, but it was a great workout, a little fast, my head was spinning that I turned 40, so it was quite interesting. And next day, so up late that night for dinner. Dinner ended up going till about close to 11 p.m. and for me that's a late night. I know that sounds crazy to some of you that may be night owls, but for me, rest is important because recovery is very important for me to actually have a great next day in training, but great next day, period. I want to feel inspired and energized throughout the whole day. So August 2nd, which was Friday, where are we at? Hold on. My Strava is not... Actually, excuse me. Friday. Talk about Friday. It was a late night, wasn't good. I didn't even work out Friday. Took the day. Crazy, right? I didn't beat myself up, but between eating a lot, having desserts, and all of these things, I just felt crappy. I thought I might do a late night run. I was completely exhausted. I had dinner at with my sister and my wife again the following night, that Friday night, and I ended up passing out, laying on the tile floor in the kitchen with Shark Week on, out cold, right after dinner. So I slept for like 2 hours on the tile floor, and then I woke up feeling crappy, so I needed to get adjusted. But nonetheless, I didn't train Friday because I wanted to do a night run. Did not happen. So I woke up with a lot of rest. Ran yesterday, ran 11.18 miles at a 10:24 pace, so I ran an hour and 56 minutes. It's a great run. I ended up getting picked up by my wife because I wanted to do 10. I pushed a little more. I did some walking. Running later in the day has become a little more difficult because the heat has been kicking in and the humidity has been kicking in, so it's been pretty gnarly. And feeling a little more inspired to run. I mentioned this in my Facebook Live today on Sunday that I set my mindset out at night. I ate really well yesterday. I had an awesome healthy breakfast, multiple eggs, guac. We've got some sprouted bread, which we throw some coconut oil on, some organic salsa. Unbelievable. So I had this awesome breakfast, which was, like at noon or whatever it was. And ate really well yesterday. Had some fatty rice yesterday, which is, rice with oils and coconut oil and butter and all these things on, and then some curry, turkey meatballs. Out of this world. My sister did make those, and woke up this morning super inspired, and I ended up putting in 17 miles this morning. I think 17.02. Strava's having issues so far this morning. But what was really neat about this was last night, during the day, I'm like, what am I going to do tomorrow? I'd like to do, I need a bigger run in. We're going on vacation. I want to make sure I can get some distance in and see where my headspace is and my body is to go longer than I have into training date, right? So this is the longest run I've done to date training. And I said, I mapped it out in my head. I go, over 15 would be cool. 15 would be awesome. I wanted to do more than a half marathon. 15 would be cool. So I mapped that out in my head. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good run. Or looks like a good run in my head, I should say. So I ended up doing this whole run. And funny thing is, yesterday I had to get picked up. I texted my wife, listen, you got to pick me up. I'm feeling crappy. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, fatigued. The heat was kicking my ass. And today, I'm on my last mile of my run. And my wife, I guess is just out of Orange Theory, drives past me, honks. She goes, you all right? Because I've been gone for almost 3 hours at this point, 2 and 3/4 hours or whatever it was. And I'm like, yeah, thumbs up. I'm doing awesome. So it was really funny seeing her, and it was almost like the universe sent me a lifeline if I needed it, but I didn't need it, right? So my headspace was good. I felt inspired. I'm like, this is awesome. I can keep going. And I did not stop. I did not walk at all. Not at all on that 17-mile run, which is awesome. It was a little slower pace for me, but you know what? So be it. If I can keep these slow, consistent paces, I'm on par for a pretty fast 100-miler. And, I need to keep pushing my envelope, pushing the limit longer and longer and longer and harder and longer and longer. I know it probably sounds a little weird to some of you when me saying that, but seriously, I have to increase intensity when I do my speed weeks, and we're going to have to increase time and distance on other weeks and days. So you can look forward, I'm going to be looking forward. You're going to be able to see this and track this with me. Longer and longer runs. I have a couple planned out. For those of you that are in the Northeast that are, I pass a lot of people on road bikes because there's a road called Route 9W, which is called the Lycra Highway. I found that out by one of my podcast guests who rides bikes on it, his road bike, pedal bike, and people will ride from New York City all the way up past my house on 9W up to what we call Bear Mountain and back. And if they're doing that super ride like that, that's over 100-mile ride. Some don't go that far. Some people go to a town called Nyack where they stop at this breakfast place called the Runcible Spoon and then run back. So I'm planning a couple of my runs in the next few weeks to be running on the Lycra Highway with all of these bikers. I'm usually the oddball. Everybody's has a wheel in the front and a wheel in the back, and all I have is my 2 feet going. I'm trucking along. I'm the oddball of the group, but you know what? I have to put in the distance and the time and the work to get things done, right? Because you remember, there are no limits to what you can accomplish except the limits you place on your own thinking. So don't be scared. I shouldn't say that. You can be scared, but be optimistic that you can actually accomplish what you're shooting out for. So the 17 miles for me was awesome. I was super pumped when I got home. Took a hose shower outside, hosed everything off. It was like God knows what I was going to smell like. And then took a shower, and now I'm here in front of you, and I feel awesome. I'm going to eat something in a bit, but I feel completely awesome today. So let's look at my last 40 years. I'm a son, a brother to my brother Ryan and to my sister Morgan. And my parents' anniversary was also this week, so happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. That's Kathy and Jay. And I grew up with a really, really interesting, cool family. And just to share with some of you who have not heard some of these stories, who have not heard a little bit of our past or my past, I'm a very odd, unusual person in the world, right? And I say that because I was brought up in a chiropractic family, which is, we're a smaller population. I've an unvaccinated kid, but I also grew up doing experiential training, this is really cool. So I grew up doing experiential training, from doing firewalks from like the time I was maybe in like 3rd grade, 4th, 5th grade. I don't remember the exact age. Doing firewalks, high and low ropes courses. I've been doing, we used to build sweat lodges, do these things called vision quests where we have picture, a 10-year-old or however old you are, 10, 11 years old, being dropped off in the desert and being told to sit with our thoughts. Remember, there were no cell phones back in the day. So they would drop us off on these ridges in the deserts of Arizona, and we would have to just sit with it by ourselves and just think for hours in a day. And it's really interesting, like that's what running does for me now, because I'm by myself for hours, and I do not run with anything in my ears. I don't run with music anymore. So I grew up doing those types of things on a very, very regular basis. I got to experience amazing things, like breakthroughs that I didn't think I had. I was doing meditations, I shouldn't say I was doing meditations. During these seminars that my father, or my parents I should say, and this other family called whose last name is the Ribleys, they'd run this seminar called Inner Winners, where we'd do these firewalks and sweat lodges and all sorts of cool, crazy things, where we'd put rebar, for those of you that are watching, like in that little soft spot, like right in the base of the bottom of your neck on the front, where your clavicle is, where your clavicles meet, right? And your sternum attaches there. Put rebar, which is this pretty thick, like thick as your maybe pointer finger, steel between here, that soft spot. And my father, I did this with my father, he had one there as well, and taking a step forward, and this bar bending like butter, doing all sorts of really amazing, unusual things, all the stuff that all normal kids do, right? No, I grew up, I was a very, very odd kid in that sense, but I think it was very impactful to have experiences like this, where we have that's why they're called experiential training programs, where you can grow. And we'd sit and do meditations in the desert at 6 a.m., sunrise. It was amazing. I don't think I got as much out of it as I could now, but it was very, very powerful. And being able to experience those things, I'm grateful to my parents, grateful to the Ribley family for bringing this and making this available to the world, and they're actually still doing it to this day. They took a little bit of a break, but they're still doing these events today, which help people get this unlimited power. I mean, this is, I believe, this may precede Tony Robbins doing some of his work. I'm not sure, but it's very powerful. It's in an intimate setting. There's not large groups of people. There's a lot of one-on-one time where you actually can experience some pretty powerful, massive growth. So doing that, I was very grateful growing up to be able to spend at least, we traveled a lot. My family traveled a lot. My dad worked very hard, took care of our family, and loved giving us experiences outside of those seminars, but loved giving us experiences that we would take with us for the rest of our lives. And, you know, one of my favorite experiences that I can remember, I mean, there's a lot of them, but one of my favorite experiences was, and I'll tell a short story, but I don't want to spend too much time here doing this, but we went to Europe for a month. 1 month in the summer. And we traveled via the Eurail system, like the train system, all around Europe. And the most amazing thing was we got to experience history, right? We got to experience, what happened in Europe. And you realize this is going back to 1993, in elementary school, you're learning of the history of the world, right? And we're going to like Anne Frank's house. We went to Dachau and Auschwitz, the concentration camps. We went to different cathedrals and castles and all of these amazing places. And we always, like, I don't say we took a tour, but we always were learning about the areas we went. In many places we did take tours, but we got to learn. And, just going back through this, and it was really neat. I remember coming back to school and we were actually learning about the Holocaust and Anne Frank. And I remember being in class, and this is really wild and funny. And, we're reading the book, we're going through the Anne Frank's diary, and one of the teachers was saying something, I don't remember, whatever it was, but I said, no, it wasn't like that. And she goes, how do you know? I said, well, I was there 2 weeks ago. Whatever it was, a month ago. And it was pretty wild that I got to learn this amazing story of U.S. and world history by traveling the world. And I was never a great in-school student until I got to chiropractic college. Or actually, I got to business school first, but then chiropractic college. Until I really found out what I liked. I was not great at social studies or great at math or great at English or great at any of these things. I graduated high school, not proud to say, but a 2.5 GPA. But I graduated college and chiro school with almost a 4.0 GPA, like almost a perfect GPA. So that's not to say, ooh, wow. No, that's, when you find something you love and love to do, and you're inspired to work hard towards it, right? Remember, the only limits we put are in between our head. I was able to push through and study hard and train hard and learn a ton, so I can be the absolute best chiropractor, so I could be the absolute best that I was in my business school. I put a lot of energy and effort in. So really cool experiences growing up in life. I was an alpine skier, and this is, I was an alpine skier. I actually played baseball. So I want to share one baseball story and another story real quick with you, just a little bit about my past. And I'm sharing this with you because I believe, I truly believe that coaches in life and sports can be either really, really, really good or really, really, really bad. So I remember being in, this is baseball. I was an okay baseball player, but when I started to grow, I got very clumsy. But when I stopped growing, I was like 15 years old or 16 years old, I got very good. My coordination caught up to my growth spurts. And I was a lefty, and I could hit the ball, really, really well. I played first base at 6'2" or 6'1", 6'2". It was a good position for me. I was pretty decent at playing. So we played on this Babe Ruth team, which was like a 16, 17, I think it was, or Mickey Mantle, whatever it was. We were like 16, 17 years, but then we were so good that our team ended up playing a lot of the next level up, which was the 18, 19-year-olds as they're getting into college. And we were playing in an all-star league, a traveling league. and I played first base, and so did the coach's son as well. But I was a better player than his son. And what happened is we're in the last 2 games before going, or having the opportunity, I should say, to go to the state finals. And I had an opposite field home run. It was, like right out of the movies. It was the bottom of the 7th. We only played 7 innings back then. Hit a 3-run home run. And, man, we won the game. Really, really cool. And so it was the first of the doubleheader. The coach benched me the whole second doubleheader so his son could play. So, like, things like that, like, I stopped playing baseball. With an immature mind, my coach really, like, broke me down. Wasn't good. So I believe coaching is very, very powerful. And I had great coaches in skiing from high school coaching, which was one of my teammates' fathers. He wasn't a great coach, but he actually, like, pushed us to be better all the time. And I guess that is a good coach. And then through some collegiate skiing, I had an awesome inspirational coach who not only could coach, but he could ski really, really well, which was absolutely, absolutely awesome. But I got out of there after 1 year of racing, got injured, hurt my back, was in a car accident, and had to decide what I wanted to do. If I wasn't going to be an Olympic hopeful, I had no idea how far I would have gone to become an Olympic hopeful. But I'm like, wow, if I'm injuring myself and I can't perform at my peak, I got to think of something to do, so I'm not just going to become a ski bum. That may not have been the worst thing in the world. I love skiing, but I knew there was other things I had to do in this world and in this life. So I transferred back and went to graduate business school, and then as things transpired, getting ready to graduate, ended up taking an anatomy class, fell in love with science and the human body and the physiology. It was really cool. And I'm going to chiropractic school, so I had this really wild ride of life, from really great things happening, learning. These are all learning moments. The positives are learning moments, and so are the negatives. And I want to thank all of you that have inspired me, have taught me, from the chiropractic world to the life world to the podcasting world. I want to really share so much gratitude, and all the people that I've been able to meet to have inspired me to be a better version of myself, I think is super powerful, because I really want to be myself, or my best self, for all of you. I need to be my best self for me first, but I want to be my best self so I can inspire more people to do more good, to be the best chiropractors, to be the best athletes, to be just the best people. And as I look forward for the next 40, man, I gotta step up my game here. And that doesn't mean me doing more work necessarily. It may mean me working smarter and harder in condensed time periods, so I can not miss out on experiences in life, like hanging out with my nephew Jack, and there's a new baby coming soon as well in my family. So being in a good place mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, that I can afford the time and energy to spend the time with those that matter most. So I think the next 40 are going to be about growing very large in a good, positive way, so I can impact more people in a really good way, and also spend that time that I need to spend and want to spend with the people that I care about most. Because what many of you may not know about me is that I'm not a very social person, and I want to be a little bit more social, and it is what it is, and I have to work hard at being better at that. And it's funny, that's just one last story. My mother-in-law, I love her to death. She was at dinner the other night at our house this past maybe a week and a half ago, or maybe I don't know where it was, but it was really funny. She said, she was comparing me to someone in her family, and who's very analytical, who's not very warm and fuzzy. But she goes, Josh isn't a very warm and fuzzy person. No, but he's a really loving person. He cares about people, but he's not that like warm and fuzzy guy. I go, well, you're probably right. My wife's like, yeah, you're right. So I want to become, maybe I don't want to be that warm and fuzzy person, but I want to be able to be more available, to be around my friends, to be around my family, and come from a place of of gratitude and love. So that's it. That's the Race to 100. I hope you're all inspired. Maybe learn a little bit more about me than you wanted to know. And until the next episode, people, you're going to hear about shark diving. Well, when I get back in the next Race to 100, you're going to be a shark diving. You're going to hear about my training in the Bahamas, which I don't even know what it's going to be like at this point. And you're also going to hear about life as usual, right? We have some awesome guests coming up next week and the weeks after. People are jumping on board. And if you have anybody that you want me to interview, me to have a conversation with, please, you can share on Facebook, on Instagram, send me a direct message, share a post on my personal page, wherever it is, Lifestyle Locker, Facebook page, share, and I would love to get someone on our show that you feel inspires you, because if they're inspiring you, there's a good chance that I'm going to be inspired, and then we can magnify that through the world of podcasting. So have a great day, evening, or night, wherever and whenever you're listening and even watching at this point. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.